People want to know who's the puppet's boss and who is responsible for this country's loss. They're giving and giving all the way land across. They ain't leaving nothing for a local cause. They think they could us not be. We gon' fight for we property. Look the way they went and how they sign away our whole country. You implement the 12% and that was your greatest achievement. Still I can't pay me rent. We can't breathe. It's time to repent. We can't breathe. You hire one to fire one. Oh Lord, what a contradiction. Now look what you've done. We can't breathe. To us, Waligan son. We can't breathe. All the wheeling and dealing with the Dutchman was never part of the plan. Now hope you could understand how you're suffocating the whole nation. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Why don't you follow the process in the right way? Raise the minimum wage and give the people the right pay. Follow the code of conduct, obey the law. Is it really too much that we asking for? You will feel the anxiety, lead your people with dignity. Is it you or the next who could possibly save this whole country? You implement the 12%, now people can pay their house rent. How's that money spent? We can't breathe. It's time to repent. We can't breathe. You hire one to fire.
Welcome to the Late Night Show. Hope everything is okay. Hope everything is all right. I'm your host, Andrew Dick. Alrighty, what's happening on the lovely island of St. Martin? We begin with the news that the National Alliance has finally decided to have their Congress. Finally, June the 4th is the day where we are going to know who is going to be the next leader of the National Alliance. Now, of course, we have the Prime Minister, Sylvia Jacobs, who is a proud leader of the National Alliance, and she thinks she's doing a great job, so obviously she's going to go for re-election. Then we have some other contenders that the late night received a little sticky note from someone from the National Alliance, and they said make sure don't mention their name. But there are some contenders for the National Alliance Party. Now, the first one on the list is Mr. Brown. Yes, he looks like he's going to be a contender for the leadership of the National Alliance. Next up, we have Tommy. Yes, Tommy, from the Pondville. You know, he always cleaning the road better than the Minister of Romy, so he's also a contender for the leadership of the National Alliance. Also on my short list, I see that there is Rudolph Samuel. He looked like he's not going anywhere. He says that if he needs to leave, then the whole of the National Alliance Party would have to say, go. So he's going up for the leadership of the National Alliance at the Congress on June the 4th. It's taking place at the Bel Air Community Center, people. Then we have Angelique Roubaud, Member of Parliament. She's also going up for leadership. We have the Minister of Justice, which everybody loves right now. She is also going up for the leadership of the National Alliance. And you can see, you know, the empowerment of women in the National Alliance, you know, the kumbayaness of all of them. You know, the Prime Minister, Angelique Roubaud, Anna Richardson, 3 prominent women fighting for the top position of the National Alliance. I love it. Meow. All right. What else? We have then Onde Malin, the son of, you know, the founder of St. Martin, William Malin. He's also contesting for the leadership. And then, of course, the highest vote getter, Egbert Duran, our Minister of Romy, and our Deputy Prime Minister, and the only gangster minister decided during a budget meeting to go off island because he didn't want to deal with his bosses, which is the Parliament of St. Martin. All right, so the 4th of June, Bel Air Community Center, members of the National Alliance are encouraged to go. Of course, if you want to be part of the National Alliance, you can also go and sign up right there, and then you get to vote for the board and the new leader or the existing leader. It's going to be exciting. I can't wait. All right, let's see what happens. But good luck to all the contenders. I think it's going to be a very interesting Congress. What else is happening politically? The budget for 2023 was passed on Friday. On Friday evening, finally, after 10 o'clock in the evening, the members of Parliament had a whole marathon, a whole week of work, like so exhausting. They actually worked more than they worked the whole entire term. They end up passing the budget after just 1 week of deliberations. We have the highlights for you. Of course, the budget was passed. Some crazy things happened in between. So I'm going to give you some of the highlights of the budget meeting, just the key highlights, and then when we come back, I'll give you my commentary, okay? Take a look.
We are back with the amendment. We will proceed with voting on the amendment. There were some discussions before as to whether the changes proposed by MP Bryson would have been entertained at this moment, but there seemed not to be enough time, and so the vote will be on the amendment as presented, and the government can internally work on the proposal submitted by MP Bryson, if that would be the case, if the proposed amendment is accepted by Parliament. So we go over now to the voting on this amendment. Does anyone want a hoofdelijke stemming? Yes, hoofdelijke stemming is requested. So we will shake the magic box and come up with a number to start the vote. There are all kinds of predictions. Number 2 with a 1 in front. He lay back. Number 12.
Motivation?
Yes, I was just seeing if you guys are awake. We will go over to motivation of votes. Does anyone desire to motivate their vote? First motivation from MP Rolando Bryson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, as I said earlier, I did have a concern, and still have a concern, that we are putting at risk something as important as improving the way we manage public education in this country. And this is always challenging, and I can sympathize with the challenge of the initiator in terms of trying to find funds for something as important as heritage and our dance and performing arts. Mr. Chairman, so for that reason, I did propose maybe an alternative, but we understand with time, etc., that may not be possible. So, Mr. Chairman, this amendment would have my support, however, with the clear understanding that we cannot sacrifice the plans to improve public education as well. Therefore, I look upon the government, particularly our Honorable Minister of TIAT, to ensure that as soon as possible, it's not a motion, but it's my motivation and my wish, that particularly the budget post that I mentioned for cruise conversion that may be available, and maybe find some others where tourism will now be contributing to much needed improvements in public education, and have that amendment return as soon as possible to the Parliament so that the plans for privatization of public education can go undisturbed, because we do know, or can definitely surmise, that an 80% cut in that budget definitely puts that whole plan at risk. So, Mr. Chairman, I will support that, with also the interesting caveat that in order for this amendment to pass, the budget too has to pass. So I'll be voting for this amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for that motivation. Do we have yes, MP Westcott-Williams?
Thank you once again, Mr. Chairman. Motivated, I explained the proposed amendment earlier, but Mr. Chairman, I think it's important to recognize a couple of things. The efforts to make the management of public schools or the division of public schools more financially independent. Mr. Chairman, there's nothing that has been stopping that from being picked up. The matter of privatizing public education goes back to the days of the late Reinhold Groeneveld being head of the Department of Education. Since then, this has actually been on the table, coming back year after year. And again, when I hear the kind of capacity issues that the minister referred to, I hope at least we're the financial independence. So in other words, where the management of public education by the department, by the division, by an entity presented for this budget, every month, if not every 2 weeks, the government is going to have to be looking at this post. How does this income look? How does this expenditure look? And based on that, make shifts in the budget. Hence, my counter proposal to that proposal was, government, go ahead and do what you got to do in terms of looking at how things are developing financially and make the necessary shifts. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, MP Westcott-Williams. We have another motivation from MP Melissa Gums.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'll be very brief because MP Westcott kind of went in the direction that I wanted to go in, which is to kind of question, what has been stopping the financial independence or autonomy, as I asked, of DPE. I believe in 2016, a pilot was done where they used a just-in-time inventory management system that allows the minister and or controllers to view budget allocation adjustments in near real time. So the tools do exist. So maybe that is the direction that, that the ministry should be looking in. But at the end of the day, this will have my support as well. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Melissa Gums. I see there are no other requests. I would like to briefly motivate my vote. It was precisely in 1994-95 when yours truly, William Allen, was Commissioner of Education. I had just become Commissioner of Education when, as a principal of a public school, knowing what the problems were, I immediately requested the then head of public education, Mr. Reinhold Groeneveld, the late Reinhold Groeneveld, to start looking at putting that process together. Why? It had indeed nothing to do with money, but it had to do primarily with the decision-making process in public education. It would take too long because of the governmental bureaucracy. It would take too long when, for instance, we were recruiting teachers. Teachers would come back to St. Martin with a teaching degree, and as Commissioner of Education, you go after them, but it takes too long in the government bureaucracy for them to get an answer, and they accept an offer from one of the other school boards. The purchase of material, while government funds all the other schools, the decision-making to buy the books for public schools, not because of lack of money, but the speed of decision-making, it would take too long. So hence, I immediately proposed that, but we stumbled upon one major roadblock, which were the teachers who were afraid of losing their status as civil servants. And they started to bark back and bite back. And unfortunately, my stint lasted 1 year. And I then, afterwards in history, became Minister of Public Works of Romy, and education was taken over by another veteran politician. This is not a laughing matter, but it is something ongoing for many, many years. If we go back to 94, we are talking 29 years, almost 30 years. So we have no other motivations. And I go over now to the voting. We had already picked number 12, and we begin with number 12.
MP Hyacinth Richardson.
For Mr. Chairman.
MP Angelique Rameau. MP Ludmila De Weaver. MP Sarah Westcott Williams. MP Siddharth Bijlani.
4.
MP Akeem Arundel.
4.
MP Rolando Bryson.
4.
MP Chanel Brownbill.
4.
MP Solange Duncan.
4.
MP Christophe Emmanuel.
4.
MP Melissa Gums.
4.
MP Grisha Heiliger Martin.
4.
MP George Pantoflet.
4.
MP Rayon Peterson.
4.
Vice Chairman William Marlin.
4. We're on a trend. 15 votes cast, all 15 for, 0 against. And we go over to amendment number 2, while thanking MP Westcott Williams and congratulating her for the successful vote of the amendment. The second amendment is an amendment by MP Rolando Bryson, and it entails the changing of names, and he is suggesting to change the name of Vendors Village Development to Marketplace, Meeting Place, and Taxi Holding. And adding intellectual property, tourism development, and for that to allocate an amount of 2.5 million. Then the other change is for tourism product development to allocate 2.4 million. And the minister that would need to address this would be the Minister of TIAT, Tourism, Economic Affairs, Minister Lambrix.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Definitely the motion, the amendment has my full support. As my colleague minister said, anything to do with the ministry and to bring in more money for the ministry to make the tourism product more fruitful and beneficial for the whole country is always a plus for me. So definitely it has my support. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Do we need Hove the Lucas Stemming? Hove the Lucas Stemming is requested. Do we need to motivate our votes? Well, anyone can motivate his vote in no particular order. You just need to request. I see a request coming in from MP Westcott Williams. MP Westcott Williams, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I am looking forward to, I hope we can still get it, to hear from our Minister of Finance on this proposal. For the simple reason, Mr. Chairman, while the motion is in Dutch and lengthy,
It's an
my
amendment.
first impression,
Amendment.
sorry, the amendment, my bad, the amendment, my first impression of putting intellectual property on your budget would be something for your balance sheet. So I would like to know from our Minister of Finance whether the proposal as is right now in this amendment, if that is something that can go in our budget system the way we operate right now. I understand the concept, and I think it would have been a better idea to take the idea, the concept, and put it in the hands of, for example, which is mentioned in the amendment, of the NRPB. The whole thing. Because I really don't see us being able to put intellectual property, an intangible asset, if you wish, in our budget. Normally, those things are put on your balance sheet. Again, with all due respect, that's me. And had I had the time to really dissect it, probably at the end of the day I would have said, yeah, this is, indeed, this is the way we can do it. But I don't have that conviction right now, and that is me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, MP Westcott Williams. Minister of Finance, you were called upon to weigh in.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The MP did discuss with me this proposed amendment, and to be honest, it was a lot bigger figure initially with other aspects of it, a lot of other aspects. The good thing about it was that for me that it was a plan that's already developed by NRPB, aspects of it, and I also at that point in time explained to him in terms of intellectual property and branding and so forth that cannot just be put, branding for example, you just can't just put on a capital expenditure. I did explain these steps, but I also explained to him that intellectual property can be put on your CapEx as an intellectual asset. So there are, depending on what kinds, it can be put in a balance sheet as an asset. Yes, it can. So I did go through this process with him. Again, it was a bigger figure. It cut it down a good bit, and I did explain to him that he cannot just put a whole branding aspect on CapEx. But yes, intellectual property in some sorts can be registered on your balance sheet as an intellectual asset.
Thank you. Minister of Finance, the side discussions are not permitted before we adjourn the meeting. In the meanwhile, I look at the rest of the MPs. Is there need for motivation? The Indiner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As was outlined by the Minister of Finance, this was not something that we woke up yesterday and discussed. It has been extensive discussion with the stakeholders, and as a matter of fact, in the informal, not the last one, the one previously with the CFT, this was actually discussed with them as well, and it was itemized which ones can be considered capital investments, things that you own. But I want us to also realize, maybe not looking just at the financial side, but understanding that things like your tourism master plan, things like your archive that you have of all these visuals and graphics and videos, these are all things that the country will own, that has a value, that needs to be invested in. And of course, within the plan as well, there are other things that might seem like the more traditional capital expenditures, such as the garbage bins, the benches, the public restrooms, etc. But I do believe, and from the discussions, we were able to conclude that this can be a part of the capital expenditure. And most importantly, what the CFT stressed on is that the proper plan. There is plans, there is significant research, there is rollouts, there is all of this available to the government to be able to properly execute this, put it together, and give it to the CFT for further approval. That exists. It would not be, I would never come here and just say, put a line item and make it happen if I wasn't fully aware and had all the documents which are linked within the amendment. So there are footnotes where those are there, and those documents are with the government and the NRPB. So I look forward to finally the country being able to make significant investments in our #1 asset, which is tourism.
Thank you, MP Rolando Bryson. I look at the rest of, and I look at the speakers list. There's no further requests, so we go over to the voting. Any predictions? Anybody else waging? Lucky number 13.
MP Angelique Rameau. MP Ludmila de Wever. MP Sarah Westcott Williams.
Against.
MP Sedhard Bijlani.
For.
MP Akeem Arundel. MP Rolando Bryson. MP Chanel Brownbill. MP Solange Duncan. MP Christophe Emmanuel. MP Melissa Gums.
4.
MP Grisha Helger Martin. MP George Ponteflet.
For.
MP Rayon Peterson. MP Hyacinth Richardson.
For.
Vice Chairman William Marlin.
For. The votes are in. 14 votes were cast, 10 for, and 4 against. The amendment has been accepted. We go over to the third amendment, and that too was presented by MP Rolando. No, this was MP Rameau, sorry. MP Rameau. And in essence, it is to take 50,000 guilders from the Bob Summer program and adding it okay. The MP is proposing to take 50,000 guilders from innovations in education and to put that to the BOP program And the BUP program that now has 75,000 earmarked would have now 125,000. So Minister of Education. This is another one that comes. Begrotingspost 43489/6087 Dienstonderwijs Innovatie. Wordt 50.000 van gehaald. Het wordt nou 30.998. En onder begrotingspost afdeling jeugd en jongeren wordt veranderd van 75.000 naar 125.000. So 75,000 to 125,000. Minister of ECYS.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, sometimes in cases like these, I really don't understand in which direction we want to go. Education on the move, support our youngsters. Both belongs to the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sport. So it is basically shifting from one hand to the other, from one hand to support the other. In the end, Mr. Chairman, I have indicated during this budget handling that we are cooperating in order to have a balanced budget, in order to be able to profit from the CAPEX loan that we are to get. I will indicate here this evening in Parliament that don't be surprised if the Minister of Education will also come with amendments, a proposal, or suggestions, or requests for funding for projects or whatever that run short. Because, as I have done, I will continue to do, I fight for my budget and for the budget of my managers, and I have also always done that. I don't have a problem cooperating, but this definitely, if we run into issues, I will let us know. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for the clarification, Minister, but I probably was distracted a bit. Are you supporting the amendment, or are you not in favor of the amendment?
Mr. Chairman, I believe I was asked to speak on the amendment. I don't have to vote. I think the voters will vote, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Politician. Okay. Plead the fifth. We go over to the members of parliament. Do we want hoofdelijke stemming? Hoofdelijke stemming is requested. Does anyone wants to motivate their vote? MP Angelique Roumou.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening to everyone once again. I believe in my explanation to the amendment, I was very clear, but I think I need to reiterate what I said in terms of how important this amendment is for the youth of St. Martin. I believe that last year already, an internal transfer was made to the amount that I am asking for the amendment to go back to, whereby being able to afford 109, I believe, students with the opportunity to participate in the BOP program. With the cut, or with the amount of money that was allocated this year in the budget, that almost cuts it in half. I believe that it's important for us to remember that we are dealing with the future development of St. Martin when we talk about youngsters, and I can understand what the minister is saying in terms of fighting for a budget, but I am fighting for the youth of St. Martin. And I believe that it is important for all of us to remember that we are looking at numbers, yes, but to the detriment to whom? And when I look at, and in my questions asked yesterday during the budget debate, I specifically asked what these figures were used for last year. And then I also asked what it would be used for this year. And the answers given were very vague. And I must again say that this is a division that I worked in. So I know what is going on. And it is important to once again bear in mind that this is about the youth and the future of St. Martin. And hence, of course, it is my amendment, so of course I'm going to support it. But I look to my colleagues here on the floor of Parliament and I ask you to also support this amendment, which is for the future of St. Martin. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, MP Rumu. I see we have MP Westcott Williams.
Thank
who
you,
wants to
Mr.
motivate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, right now it is not, I can't say so much about, I want to say not only about the motion, the amendment, sorry, here before us, but rather the issue of establishing priorities and the right that also Parliament has to have this discussion. And so many have been the questions in this budget debate as to what exactly is being planned, what can be done. I have so often asked all of the ministers here, give me a timeline in terms of the things that you're going to do under this item, that item, every item. And the accountability of the government, and I asked the Minister of Finance this, but as far as I know, I haven't gotten an answer, because the General Audit Chamber has indicated, has indicated that the implementation reports that we get every quarter based on the agreement with CFT is not in conformance with what, according to the National Accountability Ordinance, the Parliament should get. And the big difference between those two being that we cannot take the implementation report, the uitvoeringsrapportage, and see and relate it directly to the budget and see how the government is executing the budget and the different posts on the budget. And we need to get to that, where Parliament can continue to monitor, especially with a budget such as the one before us, where Parliament can continue to monitor the actions or lack thereof of government. So, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to add that there, and again, add in that part that we really can't see in the uitvoeringsrapportage whether the minister took the 1/12 of the 100,000, 200,000 guilders and did something in January or February or March for that matter. We can't see that. and the way things have been going, and even the reports on the annual accounts is like, we're kind of running behind the facts where the oversight and control of Parliament is concerned on the financial management of the ministries. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, MP Westcott Williams. I look at the speakers list. We have no further motivations. Yes, we have MP Rolando Bryson. MP, you have the floor.
Mr. Chairman, I said earlier about a situation where we find ourselves in certain budgets, and apparently we find it a lot in ECYS, where we're kind of robbing from Peter to pay Paul. Mr. Chairman, I was actually once an instructor in the BOP program, very familiar with it. And I think it's, because we used to do training and evaluation for the students, get them ready before they go off to work. And one of the things I noticed with that program immediately is that that program is more built on the participation of the private sector. You need to get participation as much as possible to get companies to also hire it, not just within government, but also within the private sector. Mr. Chairman, when I hear the minister not give his position on it, when I hear what we're moving money from to put into this program, I must say I have some serious reservations. Because again, on one hand, we have put public education at risk, and now with another one, we have another situation that may be at risk. If the amount that has been placed on the BOP for 75,000 guilders allows the program to continue, I think it will. So I believe, is it enough? Probably not. But I do believe and have some concerns about cutting this original budget post here, Mr. Chairman. So I'll say for now that I have some serious reservations. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Bryson. I see no further request for motivation. So the minds are made up and we shall shake up. So far, we haven't had a winner yet. Nine. Lucky seven.
MP Melissa Gums.
4.
MP Grisha Heilger Martin.
4.
MP George Ponteflet.
4.
MP Rayon Peterson.
4.
MP Hyacinth Richardson.
4.
MP Angelique Rameau.
4.
MP Ludmila De Weaver.
4.
MP Sarah Westcott Williams.
4.
MP Siddharth Bijlani.
4.
MP Akeem Arundel.
4.
MP Rolando Bryson.
Against.
MP Chanel Brownbill.
4.
MP Solange Duncan.
4.
MP Christophe Emmanuel. Vice Chairman William Marlin.
4. That was me. We have 13 votes for, 1 vote against, 14 votes were cast. So after that motivation and vote, the amendment was passed with 13 big votes. According to Article 57 of the Rules of Order, we now go over to voting on the draft national ordinance stipulating the budget of the country for the year 2023, the National Ordinance Budget 2023. we will vote for Article 1 and its attachment. Article 2. Article 3. Article 4. Article 5. The intitulé, the title, the consideration, the draft in its entirety as modified by the memorandums of modification registered on the incoming document 613 and 613 of the current parliamentary year dated the 22nd of March 2023, and number 7 on the incoming document 620 of the current year dated also March 22nd, 2023, and number 8, the amendment by MPs Westcott, Williams, Bryson, and Remo, and we just accepted those. Does any member request voting by roll call? The hoofdelijke stemming. We have hoofdelijke stemming. And before we go over to voting by roll call, we will again give all members the opportunity to briefly motivate their vote. Is there any request for a motivation? I see none, so we go over to voting on the budget. This is your last chance to get it right. Number 2. 5. A Christmas ham.
It's gonna be me.
Number 15.
Hey. Ray. Bingo.
MP Sarah Westcott Williams.
Against.
MP Siddharth Bijlani.
For.
MP Akeem Arundel.
For.
MP Rolando Bryson.
For.
MP Chanel Brownbill. MP Solange Duncan.
Against.
MP Christophe Emmanuel.
Against.
MP Melissa Gums. MP Grisha Helger Martin.
Against.
MP William. Sorry. MP George Ponteflet.
For.
MP Rayan Peterson. MP Hyacinth Richardson.
For.
MP Angelique Remou. MP Ludmila De Weaver. Vice Chairman William Marlin.
For. We have a final vote. 15 votes were cast, 8 votes for, 7 votes against. The budget, the draft budget has been accepted with 8 votes for and 7 votes against. According to Article 88, Section 1 of the Constitution of St. Martin, Parliament shall notify the government that Parliament has approved this draft national ordinance in its public meeting of today.
Now, this is what I don't understand. Now, stay with me, kids. Stay with me. MP Sarah Westcott Williams came with a law amendment in order to get 200,000 guilders from one department in education and put it towards sports or some dancing for youngsters and some cultural thing, right? Majority of members of parliament voted for that amendment. Then when it came to the budget, she voted against the budget. So why in the hell would she pass an amendment to the budget and not vote for the budget? It's a matter of the real place. I don't understand it. I don't get it. They have some members of parliament from the opposition that voted for a bunch of amendments, a bunch of motions, but they didn't support the budget itself, where the ministers have to get the money from for RU. So we care about the police officers, but we're not going to vote for the budget to pass. Anyway, coalition of 8 passed the budget, so everything should be looking fine. Of course, the end of the month is coming. Carnival is coming. And everybody wants to know, will the Minister of Justice make it in time to pay our police officers? Of course, the police officers are waiting patiently. So let's wait and see what happens. But it's going to be a very interesting couple of days. All right? Anyway, that's it. Welcome to the Late Night Show. We have a good one for you. Let's begin.
Here goes nothing.
Hey girl, you tell me you don't call me back today. Oh, wait, that's him calling now. I'll call you back.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
Hey, I had a wonderful time.
Hello?
How beautiful.
You've got to be kidding me.
I wanted to. This thing's so stupid.
Stupid?
No, you're not stupid. This is stupid. Can you hear me? I don't think you're deaf.
Deaf?
I am saying.
Boy, bye.
Make the switch. Get faster internet for less.
At SXM, we're taking travel and tourism to new heights. Here we boast spacious check-in areas, 10 passport control points, comfortable departure lounges, and finally, there's an airport in the Caribbean that takes your travel plans as seriously as you do. Princess Juliana International Airport.
My name is Dominique Hodge, and I own Tropsicle. Tropsicle is a gourmet paleta company, which is basically an ice pop company. So the Wildlife Fellowship is basically, I consider it like an internship. You're going to be traveling to the US for 5 weeks, and they are matching you with a business in your industry, in your field. Those who are lucky enough will find a company that's the exact same thing. So I could end up in a company that makes pops as well, and they are supposed to guide me, give me mentorship, and teach me how to overcome the obstacles that I face in my company. So they send you the email confirming that you've been accepted, and there's a bunch of deadlines that you have to meet. There's a lot of paperwork that has to be filled out, because again, you are traveling to the US for 5 weeks and you will be working. So you need to apply for a visa, and they do help you with the whole process. Luckily for me, this is the first time they're having an orientation in Curacao. So I will be traveling at the end of the month. I will be meeting the fellows from Curacao, Guyana, and Suriname as well. And there, they're going to tell us more about what to expect when we go to the US. I think all entrepreneurs between 25 and 35, because those are the ages that they have, should apply. It's a different experience. For me, I was nervous and I kind of didn't want to do it, but I overcame that fear because it was like, why am I holding myself back? And you're going to learn so much, even if, even if you don't get matched with the exact same company, you meet so much people who are in that field and who have problems that you're having and that can help you. And they're so encouraging. Like within the last month, they're there every day asking you like, how are things with your business? What's the problems that you're facing? How can we overcome this? Hey, maybe you should try this. And it's really a motivating and encouraging environment. We created a WhatsApp group just so that it's easier communication, but we have to, through the Wildlife Fellowship, we have to meet, I think it's every 2 to 3 weeks through a Zoom call and have at minimum an hour-long conversation about topics that they present to us.
Good day, we are here today in KV This is a community day for KB. We have done others in other different districts, but this is very special because at 7 p.m., the lights will turn on. KB was without lights since Hurricane Irma. That's about 5.5 years, going on 6. And it's happy, I am happy, it's a happy occasion. We see the police officers out here playing with members of the community. We have different games, bouncy castles. We have right here where you can check your blood pressure, check your glucose, all of those things, and learn how to register for unemployment and financial aid. So this is something to better the community. Excuse the airplane, but it's something to better the community, and I will continue to push, and I commend Community Development, Family, Humanitarian Affairs. They do an amazing job. I couldn't do it without them.
Well, I'm Brenda Krause. I am president of VOSH Ohio, from Ohio, the United States, and we are delighted to be here in the Phillipsburg area, here in St. Martin, conducting eye care clinics. We've been here, this is the second week that we've been here. We were here last week, Monday through Friday, and primarily our focus is on the children. And so each day the school is busing in children class by class, and that's been exciting to see them from the little ones all the way up to the teenagers. So far, number one, I want to say the children of St. Martin are delightful. They're beautiful, and they are so polite. Anything that we ask them to do, they do it with a smile on their face. And I had one little girl who cried because she had to get glasses, but other than that, they've been really good. As far as the results, we're seeing, the younger children especially, we're seeing they have good eyes, good clear eyes, and so we're making sure that each has a pair of sunglasses to take with them so that they'll protect their eyes from the sun, because the sun can be harmful to delicate skin around the eyes and also eye health. And so if we start young with sunglasses, that will put off cataracts and other eye problems as they develop. I would say the biggest problem that we've seen is a high myopia, which means they don't see far away without help, and also astigmatism, which has to do with the shape of the cornea. And as a little aside, we have found, I've read a study, they are finding that children, especially as they develop, are developing myopia much more frequently than before, and they are attributing that to a lot of computer use, the handheld devices and tablets. They spend hours on those things during the day, and they don't exercise the eye muscles to get that long-range vision. And so it's really important, if you have children that are using cell phones or tablets, to remind them to look up, like every 20 minutes or 30 minutes, look up, look across the room, exercise those eyes, and then go back to the computer. I know COVID had us at home studying on the computer instead of going to school, and that has not helped any either as far as getting exercise for those eyes. As far as adults, of course, we're seeing a lot of what we call presbyopia, which means old eye, where our eyes, the muscles are not as elastic as they used to be, and so it's harder for us to adjust from distance to near, and so that's when we go into a bifocal or reading glasses. And so we've given out lots and lots of reading glasses to our older citizens here. We also check them for cataracts or glaucoma. If we see that, we refer them, refer them on to an ophthalmologist who can give them further treatment. Other than that, we've really been enjoying our stay here. The people have been encouraging and they've been cooperative. The doctors are enjoying all the exams that they're doing and just interacting with the people of St. Martin.
That is it for the Late Night Show. Thank you so much for watching. Until tomorrow, do have a safe and pleasant one. Bye-bye.